right now, I want to welcome in one of the people that's helping make a lot of those really good things happen here at the state level, and that is State Representative David Ray from District 69. David, are you with us?
I'm here, Nick. Great to be on the show with you.
Hey, thanks for coming on. Well, listen, I know we don't have a ton of time, so let's just jump right to it. Some big things happened this week at the state capitol. I'm sure folks have heard various things about what's been going on, but from your perspective, what's the headline coming out of the special session this week? What do folks need to know about what y'all did the first part of this week at the Capitol?
Well, it was a historic week at the Capitol, and that's because Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders brought the legislature into a special session to continue the income tax relief and property tax relief that we've been enacting year after year now at the state level. We passed a tax relief package that totals about $450 million, and it drops our state income tax on the personal side, the one that individuals and many small businesses pay, all the way down to 3.9%. This is literally the lowest our state income tax has been since we first enacted a state income tax, Nick. That was 1923, 101 years ago.
Wow.
So things are headed in the right direction. We also did some fairly significant property tax relief, almost about $50 million, increasing the homestead tax credit. So on your primary residence, if you own your own home, you get a $500 credit now on your income taxes. Previously, that was $425. We actually increased it last year from $375. So we've increased it $125 over the last 2 years. And there's really two things that I think are really at play here, Nick, that make this so important. One, there is truly an affordability crisis that Americans are facing, and by extension, all Arkansans, because of Washington's disastrous policies. But two, we're on a mission to make our state more economically competitive as we're trying to bring high-quality, good-paying jobs to our state. So we can dive into those a little more if you want.
Well, yeah, I do. So you mentioned the competitiveness. I mean, I know obviously, and I think our listeners probably know, we've got two neighboring states that have no personal income tax at all. And frankly, up until recently, at least, they've really been kicking our tails in terms of jobs and population growth and you name it. But where does this put us now on the map in terms of states around us, states across the South? I mean, again, we're talking about we're under 4% now, which I think just to see that 3 on the board it means a lot to me as a taxpayer, and I know to you guys that are continuing to chip away at this, it's got to be really encouraging. But where are we at now in terms of states around us, and then where do you think we go from here?
Well, let me start answering that by telling you where we've come from. You alluded to this in the intro. 11 years ago, we were at 7.0%. That was the highest income tax rate in the entire Southeast and one of the highest in the entire country. So today, we are now at 3.9%. You don't have to wait for these tax cuts to phase in. They are effective retroactive to January 1 of this year. So as we are talking right now, Nick, that is the rate, 3.9%. So where do we stack up? Well, yesterday when these bills were signed into law, we leapt ahead of 7 other states in terms of where we stack up on income tax. We passed Colorado, Louisiana, Michigan, and Kentucky, and then there's 3 other states, Nebraska, Mississippi, and North Carolina, that are in the middle of a phase-in to somewhere between 4.5 and 3.99. So we passed all of those states as well. If you look at the map today of all the states that levy an income tax, and there's, I think there's 8 or 9 that do not have an income tax, so we're still behind them. But of the states that levy an income tax, we are 7th lowest in the country. I mean, you're talking about, the only ones that are lower than us are places North Dakota, Arizona, Indiana, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Iowa. That's the list. That's it. So, this governor is leading in a bold, conservative way. She is charging hard in terms of providing tax relief to Arkansas families and workers. And I am very proud to be able to partner with her in that effort.
Yeah, so we're talking with State Representative David Ray from District 69, Maumelle, big chunk of Pulaski County, a little bit of Faulkner County in the area he represents. We're about to have to go to a break, but when we come back, David's going to stick around. We're going to talk more about what's happening at the state capitol, what legislators and the governor and the conservative majority are doing to put more of your hard-earned money back in your pocket. And then we're going to look ahead and see what's coming down the pike, because we're not done cutting income taxes yet. I have a feeling that we're not going to slow down. Here in Arkansas, here at the state level, we've really turned a corner, I think, and we're talking with, still continuing our conversation with State Representative David Ray, who serves in the Arkansas House and also on the House Revenue and Tax Committee. He's been working on this issue and trying to make Arkansas more competitive economically, frankly, longer than I have. And Representative, I want to get your thoughts, because you were giving us kind of a 30,000-foot view at this, which I think is really helpful to give us a better picture of where we stand now compared to other states. And I want to be clear, like, this is massive movement. We have made massive movement. You mentioned we were at 7% just barely a decade ago. Now we're under 4%. But I got to be honest, and I want to get your thoughts on this because you're the expert. I'm already hearing at the Capitol and, the chattering class, like, well, this was fun. This was fun, guys. I mean, we made some progress, but 3.9, that's pretty low. And I mean, we're the lowest in the region now. And I mean, how long can we really keep doing this? And so, Representative, I want to get your thoughts on kind of where we go from here and how do we keep our foot on the gas and keep the momentum going?
Yeah, well, we're going to keep going forward. That's your only option. States are constantly competing with each other for high quality, good paying jobs, for new movers. People are more mobile than ever before. They can live anywhere they want, right? So why would they want to live in your state? This is the question as policymakers we've got to be constantly asking ourselves. And so the reality is, in terms of policy, if you're standing still, you're actually falling behind, because there's other states that are constantly trying to improve and become more economically competitive. So that's our only choice, is to keep improving, keep getting better. And look, the people of Arkansas deserve that. Our workers deserve to keep more of their hard-earned paychecks. And when we cut taxes, we are essentially giving people a raise by letting them keep more of each paycheck. And it's not a secret how out of control inflation is because of President Biden's disastrous spending policies. Just look around. Everything from when you go to the grocery store, the price of eggs and milk and ground beef and gasoline, to home prices, the cost of insurance. I mean, have you looked at your insurance costs lately? It's outrageous. And look, at the state level, I'm just a little old state legislator in Central Arkansas, right? I can't fix all of the problems that Joe Biden has caused. But when we lower taxes, that does help people grapple with the damaging effects of inflation, right? And then you look at what Biden has said about the Trump tax cuts, which were so successful in growing our economy prior to COVID. He said that he's going to let the tax cuts expire if he wins re-election. And so what that means is, at the end of 2025, we're going to have hundreds of thousands, if not over 1 million Arkansans, that are going to face a really significant tax increase.
So
if Biden gets reelected.
So great segue there, David. Sorry to cut you off, but that was actually going to be part of my next question. And then we got a text on the text line here that really raises the same thing. And I keep hearing this from folks. And frankly, I don't think that this is the right mindset, but I want to hear your thoughts, because it keeps coming up that, well, thanks for the tax cut, thanks for the the $50. But I know you rascals, you scoundrels down there at the legislature, you're already thinking about where else you can raise my taxes, whether it's sales tax or property tax. And I haven't seen any evidence of that. In fact, I've seen this very week, as you said, we cut income taxes and you cut property taxes. But what do you say to the naysayers out there who say at some point the legislature is going to start coming for all of these other types of revenue?
Yeah, look, I understand why people are cynical because this is what government does a lot of times. But I can tell you, in the 4 years that I've been in office, there have been no tax increases in Arkansas. None. Not even a single one that has passed into law. And look, this is what motivated me to run in the first place. There were a bunch of tax increases that the legislature enacted under Governor Hutchinson back in 2019, I think it was. And that was literally what was the tipping point that got me to jump off the sidelines and run for the legislature. And I signed a pledge. I signed the Americans for Tax Reform no tax increase pledge as a candidate. And so we've not raised any taxes in Arkansas since I was elected 4 years ago. And I don't know of any plans that anybody has to raise any. If they tried, they would certainly be opposed by me and many of my colleagues as well. And I know we do have, and I understand why people are cynical on some of this stuff, because we do have one of the highest sales taxes in the country. Our property taxes compare pretty, even though they're still too high, they compare favorably to many other states. We're getting our income tax in check. I'm not just concerned with one specific tax, right? I'm really concerned with our overall tax burden, because I think at the end of the day, it's true that there are some taxes that are worse than others, but at the end of the day, I think most Arkansans don't really care which pocket they're taking it out of. They're just concerned about how much they have left over at the end of each paycheck.
Yeah, we're talking with State Representative David Ray. Representative, we got just a couple minutes left, but I want to get your thoughts, is shifting gears here a little bit. But you put out something on the Twitters, or I don't know. I refuse to call it X. I just don't even understand. I'm calling it Twitter. But you put something out on the platform formerly known as Twitter that that said this should be the last election cycle that initiative seekers will be able to put an issue on the ballot without voters knowing the true cost of a measure before they vote on it. I will sponsor legislation in 2025 to fix this problem. Can you tell us, I know you're probably still developing this idea, but what's got you thinking about this, and where are we headed? Because I certainly agree that this is a major problem.
Well, what sparked this is these folks that are circulating petitions right now for this education proposal that they're trying to get on the ballot. And without getting into a lot of detail, because I know you've only got a couple of minutes, what their proposal would do was it would add hundreds of millions of dollars, if not more, who knows, really, it could be over $1 billion of dollars in unfunded mandates. So they're going to pass things that cost money, and then the legislature is going to have to figure out a way to fund it using your money, the taxpayer. The voter is going to have no idea when they go into the voting booth how much this proposal, or any other proposal really, will cost them when they cast their ballot. And so I think there's a better way. I've been researching this. There's 7 or 8 other states that require some sort of fiscal analysis to be printed on the ballot along with the title, something real short that just tells people, how much this proposal is going to cost in terms of taxpayer money. If it's going to require more debt or a tax increase, it'll say that. And I just think that improves the process to let people know. I mean, voters deserve to know the price tag. I mean, when you buy something at the store, you can look at the price tag, see how much it costs, decide whether you want to buy it or not. When voters go into the voting booth, if we're asking them to make those kinds of decisions, they ought to know the price tag before they vote.
That's exactly right, and I totally agree. I'm anxious to see where that all ends up, because this has been, and we'll talk about this more throughout the rest of the show today, but this has been not an isolated problem. This is not the first time we've run into this. This has been a consistent problem with these ballot amendments where there's a proposal put out, the other side can, say whatever they want to say, and frankly pull the wool over voters' eyes in an effort to get something approved. And then, oh, by the way, it's going to cost $1 billion a year. Hope you guys can figure it out. It's a big problem. We've got to get control of it. State Representative David Ray, thanks so much for joining us. Tell folks just briefly before you go a little bit about your district and where they can learn more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. My website is rayforarkansas.com, just R-A-Y, rayforarkansas, all spelled out, .com. And I live in Maumelle, but I represent most of northern Pulaski County, all the rural unincorporated areas. It's a beautiful part of our state. I also represent the southern part of Faulkner County, Mayflower, the area around Lake Conway, and I'm in my second term in the House. Check me out on the web.
All right, David Ray, thanks for joining us. He's a great follow on the platform formerly known as Twitter as well, at David A. Ray. Thanks so much for joining us, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for all you do, Nick.
All right. Hey, I appreciate it.